Yeah, so I just want to give my testimony of how Jesus saved my marriage and maybe saved my life. Well, he did save my life and changed my life from lost and scared and into just hope and faith and trust in him in these times that we're in right now. So I was born, and raised in the Catholic Church, and somewhere around 12 years old, my parents, we stopped going to church, and my mom had always had a faith, and my dad never really shared his faith with us kids. There's 5 boys and one girl in my family, and I always felt, I believed there was God, and I just went through life like everybody else, and when I was early in my life, I had, this is a tough part. Earlier in my life, when I was very, very young, I was sexually molested, and I never had a recording of that. I've always had a recording of it, but I didn't remember it till I was in my teens, somewhere around 25 or something, that the memories came back. So it was suppressed. Maybe that's God's way of protecting you when those things happen. So, and this was someone in my own family that did that to me. So, when I grew up, I always had addiction to pornography or masturbation since very, very young. I'm sure it was probably had something to do with the molestation. I know now today too that I grew up with all subliminal messages on TV, with pornography. I found out that, Walt Disney is full of pornography right from Mickey Mouse. When we watched it, there's subliminal messages, and that can be looked up and verified. I only found that out a couple years, 3 or 4 years ago. So this addiction to pornography was so powerful, and masturbation was so powerful. I used to, when I was very young, I just had to do it, and I did it in secret. And I remember my mom found a Playboy book when I was about 12 or 13 under my bed, and she was flipping through it, and she sat me down, and she was very angry and saying, are you getting turned on by this? And I felt unbelievable shame. At that point, I pretty much wanted to die. But she was very angry at the men, that had this stuff. She was just angry. But I think I internalized it, and I got more buried. So, and more, the pain, I guess, was just, it went more deep inside. So I just felt shame about it, but just kept it hidden. So I've always had this sort of sexual fantasy, or to have sex all the time. It was so compulsive, and so I hid that all my life growing up, always buying Playboy books, and I probably masturbated every day. And I took that right up through my life, and I as I grew up, I always looked okay. Like, I got a job and worked and had girlfriends and all of that, but I could never hold on to any girlfriend. I've always chose the ones that were rough around the edges. I got into smoking pot real early too, probably 13 or 14, cigarettes at the same time, and pot. And so I smoked pot regularly, and drank, at early age. Then uh, I had about, after having sleeping with different girls, and I also, this older girl when I was 15, and she was probably in her late 20s, and I was 15, she seduced me, and that was um, a very, 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 I just remember that it was like, I know now, it was just really being abused, I was young. And then because what happened, she was with me, but then right in front of me, the very next day, we were with a bunch of other kids, and we were smoking dope around a campfire and drinking, and she all of a sudden was with another guy. And so it would hurt me like I was 15. So it's just like the pain is just unbelievable, like this. So, then I went on, say, fast forward to 24 years old, and I had a girlfriend that cheated on me, and I caught her, and apparently she was sleeping around, and I was very committed. I never really was one to cheat on women, well, I guess I thought I was cheating, because every time I was with a different girl, I guess you're cheating. I know that now. It's adultery. The whole thing is adultery, right? I know it now. But I didn't really know it then, because I just wanted sex. But she was lying to me, and I thought she was my girlfriend, and she was moving out of town to go to school. And so she says, I can't see you this weekend. I can see you Friday, but that'll be our last day, and then I need Saturday and Sunday to pack and go, so we'll say our goodbyes. So on Friday we said our goodbyes, and then on Saturday I'm out with the boys, and I got a little drunk, and then I decided to go see her at night. I thought, well, I'm going to go see her, and surprise her and just give her one last goodbye kiss or whatever. And when I went there, she had an apartment, and back then, this was in the 80s, 84, she didn't have like a buzzer, so I just threw a rock at her window, and out comes this guy with no shirt on that I know from high school, a jock, and that crushed me. It just crushed me. And when I was 24 and living in this small town, Port Alberni, and it changed. It changed my life. I was so hurt by that. I screamed, and I told her to get down. He came down. He says, "Oh, I'm sorry, Tim." He knows me, right? He was, she doesn't want to talk to you and all this. And then I just, it's the first time I talked to my dad. I went back home, and it was late at night, and I had his truck. And I said, I was crying, and his advice was, keep it in your pants. That's his advice, And so, but it hurt me, and then I decided I actually left town shortly after that. I left all my friends, and I was going to start a new life, and, clean up, not smoke dope, do all that, quit everything. But I didn't really search for God. But anyways, I left 24 and to another town with no money or just a little bit of money, and I was a roofing, and started a new life. But I just got back into the same things. Another girlfriend that I dumped because she was a real nice girl, and I guess subconsciously I was afraid she was going to find out I was kind of messed up. It's all subconscious, It just, I couldn't understand what was going on. Why can't I have a nice girl, and settle down? Because I was always addicted to this pornography. And so I just fell into the same thing. So I brought the same patterns from where I was when I was 24 into this new town. And then, so I'm 24, and then another 10 years, I left this company that I was with just to go get more money, to go downtown and move into the big city and make more money. And then I had a car accident at 33 years old, 33 or 34, and I didn't have any insurance. And I decided, well, when I got in this car accident, it was on this major bridge, and it stopped all the traffic. And I had one day left on my insurance the day before, and I knew that it was payday Friday, and I thought, oh, I'll drive, and then I'll buy my insurance after I get paid, right? Because I live paycheck to paycheck. But it was the one day I got in this accident, and it was God, And then I said, well, I looked over the bridge, and I thought that's what I wanted to do. I just thought I'm just going to jump. And because everything was, the car in front of me was destroyed, and my truck was destroyed, and I wasn't hurt, but there was someone hurt in the car. And I ran up to the car, and I said, I'm so sorry, what can I do? And the man that was driving, and his wife was holding her chest, and and he just looked at, I says, can I do anything? And he goes, no, you've done enough. And then, and so that's when I just curled up in a ball. And then I kept looking over the bridge. I thought, I'm just jumping. I've told this story lots of times, but I can't believe it still hurts. But the reason I didn't jump, there's only one reason I didn't jump. It's because I didn't want to hurt my mom. She's the only woman that I knew that loved me. That she always believed in God, but she's the only one. And so I didn't jump for her because I just didn't want life anymore. Mm-hmm. So I sucked it up, and then I said, I'm going to give my life to God. That's it. I'm going, and that's it. I'm going all the way this time. So I phoned my aunt, who's a nun in the Catholic Church, and she was like, oh, and I told her everything. I told her about my porn. I told her about drinking, smoke. I did a big confession. And she says, she was glad that I called, right? So that's when this is 23, 24 years ago, 25 years ago. And so she just, suggested I, could take this counseling, which was, through a Catholic priest and all this. So anyways, I went back and I gave my life to God, and I went back to church. I went back to the church, which is the Catholic Church. So, and I prayed to God, and I wanted to meet a nice girl. I wanted to meet a Catholic girl. I wanted her to be blonde. I asked so specific. But this wasn't right away. This was after going through, I relapsed. I mean, I went after the accident, I went to Vegas, and then I got, I think, about 3,000. This is when I had a girlfriend at the time. She left me because of the accident, and she just said I was irresponsible, and that was the hardest. That was even harder than everything else, because she just dumped me, and I was falling in love with her. But when I went to Vegas, I actually cheated on her. I got so drunk. I got really drunk, and she joked about it. She goes, when you go to Vegas, you can go ahead and cheat on me over there, but don't tell me. So I did, and so my sins were just piling up. But so when I quit, I just quit. It was like cold turkey. I prayed God and asked him to help me quit. And so I did. I quit everything. Smoking, drinking. I was gambling, smoking dope, sleeping with women. All of that I quit. And I went to counseling. And I prayed to God, to show me who he was. I wanted to know. And that I was living by myself. I left all my friends, all my drinking, smoking friends, everyone, like I did when I was in Port Alberni, and left. so I did it all over again, because this wasn't, I was 24, so I was 34. It's like in 10-year intervals. 10 years later, I left all my friends again, and told them I'm seeking God, and I took this thing called personality and human relations, and where you discover who you are. I know now it was actually, I believe it was satanic what I was at. It was a Catholic thing. Rediscover yourself. So I asked God to show who he was, and one morning when I woke up, or in the morning, the sun came up, and it was like, it was God. He was really, this was a real divine event where he just said, everything's okay, I got you, and I'm there, and it was a big deal. I'll never forget it. And so then I prayed to him, that I could meet someone, and then right after that, it just took a little while. I met my wife, and we went to church every Sunday. I got in the music ministry. I just was being good, but the porn crept in real early, like within the first year of you're earlier than that. I mean, just months. So even though I was still stuck with the porn and I was still drinking, but just a little bit, and I completely quit smoking pot and got out of the gambling because I used to go to casinos and whatnot. And I couldn't do all those things and be a Christian or a Catholic, so I quit all those things. But then, so it's just to go to confession, and I went to my confession every, not a lot, but just, 3 or 4 times a year. So when I couldn't have kids right away with Grace because doctor said I couldn't have kids. I only had a 2% chance, and then I thought it was because it was all the sitting and the drugs. Well, I also did many drugs growing up, acid and cocaine and MDA, all these different drugs. I didn't try heroin, but all kinds of drugs. So I thought it was my fault, and I was really sorry to Grace, but we just kept persisting and praying. But what happened, that we weren't getting pregnant for the first 4 years, so we adopted my son Nathan. That we consider a miracle because it was a girl that was in the Catholic Church that we were helping become a Catholic, in the RCA program they have. So we got Nathan through prayer, and then I went to this men's Cursillo. It's like, this Cursillo means a short course, a men's retreat for a week, and it's to discover Jesus through the Catholic Church and all this. And I asked all the men to pray that Grace gets pregnant, and I was crying, and I just pleaded to God, I said, pray again. Everything I ask for from God, he gives. And when I got out of the Cursillo, Grace had a big smile on her face, and she said, you want to go for dinner? And I couldn't, I knew something was happening, but I was going to tell her, that at the dinner that, I had everybody pray that you're going to get pregnant, and I believe you're going to, but she told me she was pregnant. So it's like God's like just 10 steps ahead of me. And so he gave me my 2 sons, And so anyways, so life just went on, and they're 18 and 19 now. But in 2016, when Trump and Hillary were going in the primaries there, and I was with my mom, and my mom looked at me and says, I don't care what anyone's saying, but we're in the end times. She just couldn't believe what she was watching on TV. Trump and Hillary, you can't win. She didn't like either of them, and she just said, God help us, because, and I was fascinated by it all too, and I became obsessed with end time stuff. So I started Googling end times, and I went down all these rabbit holes, and I found out about 9/11. I found out that 9/11 was, an inside job, and I found out about the Illuminati. I found out about all these things, and I found out about the Catholic Church and the head of the Catholic Church, and how it's not even following the Bible. So the more I found out, the more I was like going, what's going on? And also I was having more personal problems with my life, and I was still masturbating too. And I even took up smoking pot once in a while. And so Grace and I, she knew I was masturbating the whole time, and she just bore her cross. So I confessed it all the time, but she just didn't know what to do. She just let it go. But it hurt her, right? Our sex life was, we made love twice a year. It was that bad. It got that bad. And so when I also had a business. I also started a business when I got married in 1996. I left the roofing company that I was with, and that's, we bought a house and became well off, and I got into this business partner relationship, and it fell apart because we weren't seeing eye to eye on how to run the business ethically, and I got really scared, and I needed out, and they weren't really nice to me on my way out, and they might look at it that I wasn't nice to them, however, but either way, it wasn't good. I just, it didn't, they weren't nice to me. And so I had a real crash. I fell into fear because I listened to David Icke videos and how the Illuminati are actual lizards and all of this stuff, and I couldn't understand anything. What is this? What is happening? What is going on? And I didn't know who was a lizard and who was a human in my own life. It completely, I went psychotic. It was like, and my son saw it, and he just threatened to kill me. He was so mad. And I found out about vaccines and all this stuff, and the chemtrails, and everybody's trying to kill us, and the depopulation. It just was overwhelming. And eventually, I got involved with the St. Germain Foundation, which is your higher self is going to help you get out of this mess. And it's close to God, so and your higher self is calling you to Him and all of this stuff. And I just fell for it because it's, at the time it was better than the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church is trying to kill us. So I phoned my whole family, told them all about the Illuminati, everybody. I phoned them all, and they were like, I'm sure worried, as hell. Who wouldn't be? My wife was, my kids were, everybody was worried. And so both sides of the family supported me, let's get a divorce and everything. And then somehow I ran across you on one of the videos, and your wife too. I think I was watching her video. I was watching her videos first, actually, because I was always watching videos, thousands of hours. But God kind of, I guess He knew I was searching, and something needed to make sense for me. You actually were the first person that described to me something that I've never really knew. Is that that what was happening to me was demonic. And it was interesting because and it made a lot of sense with the stronghold. I believe the stronghold was lust, because it added to all the other sins, the lying, the fear, all these other things. It was a strong man controlling me. And it probably entered me at the time of the molestation. Right? So I didn't want to go deep into that molestation because it's family member, and if I go public with this, I don't want people to know. And so, and if he watches, he'll know, and it probably would be a good thing. That he doesn't, that if he watches it would be a good thing. I love him. I confronted him about it and forgave him. That was back when I was in the Catholic Church and everything. That was part of my course that I took, and I forgave him and everything. I love him and I forgive. I don't have anything, and he knows, and my family members know. Some do. I don't know how many all know. My mom knows and everything. The cat's out of the bag. Now it is. Like, right, if this goes public, this will be the first time. I didn't share that in the last video that I had. And this is what I guess is the hardest thing. It's the hardest thing to do because I love him and I love my family. And I don't have any hard feelings. I don't have anything. I only want them, everybody, to just forgive and let things go, because yes, it's your fault because you're an adult. You have to do that, right? You have to accept being an adult. That's growing up. That's going from childhood innocence to accountability. That's how God made us, right? So I'm an adult and I had to stop blaming that incident on my pornography. That's one thing, but that kind of didn't work. I mean, going to confession didn't work. But when I saw you and you said to me, you know, Tim, that demons are real and they're and I did know something about them, but you helped me when no one's ever done that. Said I'll cast out demons. So I just humbled myself and said, okay, good, go ahead, let's do this. And then so when you just commanded in the name of Jesus, there's power in that name. And they had to leave. They had no choice because you said, get out. And then I started to do that after you left too. I said, you're getting out. In the name of Jesus, you're out. You're out of my house. You're out of my life. Get out. And it's almost like a kid, get out. Go. Kick those little buggers out. And they are powerful. But Jesus conquered. And that's what we have to remember is when the fear that I had about the Illuminati, the chemtrails, the 5G, all of these things are very scary and real. And the depopulation and the Antichrist and all of these things. And it'll scare you if you don't have the Holy Spirit of God protecting you. It'll scare you. And rightfully so, because I now know that my biggest fear is God himself. It's Jesus. That's who my biggest fear is. I don't want to mess him up. I don't want to mess up what he did to me and for me and ever forget that. Ever, what he's done. I was in an apostate church, yet he still loved me and still granted my wishes. I got out of that church, and I see them, and I love them, and I try to warn them, and they're blind. They're blind. And that's okay if they don't want to listen, but so I live now, God is, my wife still has a lot of trouble with things, but I just love her. I know I was where I was, and I just love her, and I wait. I have to have patience, because I could easily go and fill my needs, and if I have a fight or something with somebody or anybody, and go masturbate or do something like that, or fill my flesh. But I don't. I don't, and I just bear with it, and bear my cross is what you got to do. We're called to suffer. We're to suffer that. Called to occupy this place until he comes back, and he's coming. I don't know when. It could be in 30. I hope soon, but 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 in the meantime, I go to work, and I'm back to I'm trying to live as holy as life as possible, and that's what this testimony is about. Is that I want to tell that to people. You have to treat all your diseases and your sicknesses. It's an evil sickness that can't be cured because it's demonic. Most all of it. I believe that now. I listen to. I'm in. I've made a lot of mistakes. Even like this last month, I fell for this website called World's Last Chance, and they were very good, but it's Satan is very smart, and he had me going down the wrong road of the Sabbath and the lunar solar calendar and all that. And so, Jesus, when he died, the Sabbath was. I believe now. I think that was left for Israel. He's dealing with. They want to practice the Sabbath over there. Those Jews that aren't. And go ahead. That's going to get cleaned up. That's. But for us, we love God every day, every moment, every unceasing. We don't have to practice that Sabbath. They got me into it. It's a works. It's not a salvation issue, right? Right. So I study. I read the Bible twice now, or since we, or I listen to it. I got the Bible app, so I listen to every day, and I pray to Jesus, and I pray, and my marriage is and my two boys who still have they're not believers, but I keep asking God, to help them and save them, and I prayed today, and I kind of already believe they're okay, because God keeps saying, Tim, do what I say. Keep following and do what I want you to do. I'm the vine, they're my branch. Those kids are branches. Okay, so follow me, and I'll take care of the kids. So I have to let trying to control and trying to save my kids, and feeling that I have to save anybody, I'm not going to save anybody. I have to give my testimony humbly. So that's what I felt called to do before, telling you that this is what I want to do, is just give this testimony.